Good morning, this is Jack from Charting Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 27th of August. My disclaimer, I did this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to shoot trading signals. Right. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com, and it's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, great. Let's have a look. Now, one thing to mention this morning is that today is actually the most bullish leading day in August. Third to last trading day, S&P was up 19 years in a row, 2003 to 2021. And I've got it down on SPX as 95% bullish, which is very, very likely the most bullish day in August and possibly the most bullish day of the summer. This is obviously got a bit of a lean to the upside. In terms of where we are in terms of short term, I'm leaning towards seeing retest of the all-time high on ES and SPX here. We came pretty close to that on Friday, but we were like 2.5 handles short on SPX. I'm leaning towards seeing that. This would be a very good day to see that. No current negative divergence anywhere. NQ, we'd like to see a retest of Friday's high. RTY also close to a retest of Friday's high. YM a lot less close to a retest of Friday's high. Well, I'll come to the hourly charts, but on DAX, this still looks like a bull flag forming, but it's starting to look less like a bull flag forming, and I'm wondering if we're losing the monthly pivot as support at 24,211. ESTX, we're testing the monthly pivot here as well, but we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, even if we have, of course, gone lower after that. I'm wondering whether this might be a signal for a rally. All right, looking at the bigger picture charts. Let's have a look at the daily middle bands. The only one really which is in play here is the Qs, and Qs have basically closed slightly above the daily middle band for each of the last 3 days. Daily middle band closed at 570.17 yesterday. Qs closed at 572.61. We haven't seen any significant breaks here, but these are 3 consecutive closes above, and the in terms of confirming closes of Friday's very slight break back over. We've had slight closes above again on Monday and Tuesday. So far, that's been converted into support, if not particularly convincingly. Dia and IWM, I've noted that we tested the 3SD upper band on the daily chart on Friday, and we tested that on IWM as well. Normally, you'd see a couple of days of consolidation after that, and we're seeing that at the moment. So that may well continue. All right, looking at the hourly charts, I've been looking at these this morning and just assessing where we are. SPX could go higher, leaning towards seeing a high retest here, but at the moment, this trend line here looks pretty solid. If we went up, I'd still be regarding it as resistance. On the Qs, again, if we saw a leg up, I'd just be looking really for a retest of the high. But we will see how it goes. We've got the NVIDIA earnings today, of course. Looking at Dia, we might be seeing a decent break of this trend line here. I do have a couple of alternatives, and I'd be looking at that, but it may be this is still just a bearish overthrow. And on IWM, we could still be looking at a bearish overthrow, but again, I've drawn in a couple of alternatives above, which I would be watching in the event that we go higher. Do we have any convincing topping setups here? Well, the best one we had was actually on Dia, where we had a very nice looking potential level top, and that has basically been lost. We've got a possible, it still looks like potential topping action, but the nice looking level top that we had is gone. If we're forming patterns here, unless we saw a significant decline and then a retest of the highs, we'd be looking at potential head and shoulder patterns forming. And we've currently got no negative divergence really of any importance anywhere. So there's no particular reason to think that we would be heading down to those necklines today. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on IWM, DAX, and Nikkei. Consolidating after the touch of the 3SD upper band on the IWM daily. Retest this high, and we could get what would be the only possible hourly RSI 14 sell signal bring. Generally speaking, I like these arriving in 2 or 3s for confirmation. DAX, don't need actually a retest this high for any divergence. I've been leaning towards seeing it, but you can see we are starting to break back below the daily middle band. and is testing the 50 DMA. So obviously, if we were to break through that, that would be a significant break. Nikkei already looks as though it may have topped out short term, barring a retest. We've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, RSI 5 sell signal fixed. Neither of those has reached a possible near miss target, and we're reaching support at the daily middle band. And somewhat below that, at about the 41,250 area, we've got the rising wedge support, which could, of course, break. So watching that with interest. All right, looking at currencies, we've now got a couple of decent looking patterns. DX, we broke up from a very dubious looking potential asymmetric double bottom, and we've come back and we've set up a decent double bottom, and it's really an appropriate size. It would get us almost back to a retest this high, and I'm watching with interest. This one hasn't broken up yet, but the most interesting of the currency pair charts is this potential mirror double top. And that has broken down with the target in about the 114 200 to 300 area, or 350, and the buy signal that had formed there yesterday has broken down. I'm thinking this has got a shot. I think we're still consolidating sideways and waiting for direction on the bigger picture, but I'm quite liking these, and this was a very firm rejection of Friday's move down. Looking at ZB, this still looks like a bull flag. ZN still looks like a bull flag. Realistically, we should be setting up retests to the high here. I have to say, in terms of the politics of the situation. Oh, Doug, I looked into it. I don't think that I don't think we do have the Fed governor's terms ending on early next year. We've got, for instance, Lisa Cook, the one that Trump's trying to fire at the moment, her term finishes in 2038. I think Powell's term, his term as Fed governor finishes in May next year, but his term as a governor, not rather than the chairman, finishes, I think, in about February or March 28. So I think the Fed governors all have different terms. It's not all one. Oh, the bank presidents. Yeah, but they're all private banks. Yeah, maybe. Certainly, Trump is doing his very best to increase his influence over the Fed, and I think within a few months, likely he will control it. He gets to appoint the next Fed head, and obviously the Powell's current term finishes in May next year. If he can replace a couple of the Fed chairs, maybe, but maybe he could make Powell minority. The fact is, it's all a waste of time anyway. The Fed doesn't control interest rates. They just don't. So the fact is, his aim is to actually get interest rates down to like 1% and refinance all the US debt. That's just not the way it works at all. You can't just say we're going to be paying 1% now and then expect people to buy it. Why would they? Particularly with obviously the statistics agency and the Fed being run by political appointees, which is basically transferring over to the next few months. That's really not going to inspire a lot of confidence at all. So I think he's working towards a goal on which he's likely to be extremely disappointed at the result. But hey, that's not going to stop him working towards it. But these still look like bull flags, but at the moment nothing is happening, which is really positive for bonds. So we are struggling to get up to flag resistance on ZB. On CL, we had an RSI 5 daily buy signal fix on WTIC. That's now reached the possible near miss target. Something slightly strange happening with my data here. I've been redrawing some trend lines, but they've moved. I can't see any of my parameters have changed, and we're still including out of hours data. But for some reason, this is obviously raid target the other day. Maybe we just lost a day of data. But anyway, watching it with interest. But you can see there are little gaps here. This was a high here, which has disappeared. This was a higher high here. This was a higher high here. We actually made this target at 65.1. But anyway, watching that. In the short term, a week 60-minute buy signal is fixed. We're holding the weekly pivot here at the moment. but we're no longer supported by a daily RSI 5 buy signal on WSEG. HO, we've got a 60-minute buy signal fix. RBOB, we've got a 60-minute buy signal fix. Leaning towards seeing little rallies here. NG still looks like it's bottoming out. We've actually still got really 3 or 4 weeks before we're really coming up into the seasonal, 3-month seasonal rise of about 1.4. But at the moment, my working assumption is we're bottoming here, and we've got this nice falling wedge, and I'm thinking that this is a reasonably good setup to be bottoming out here at the moment. I think that's probably happening. GC, not making any progress beyond the making the IHS target so far. I would like to see this move up into a retest of the highs. Looking at the daily triangle on GC, it looks pretty close, but it might be that we've got a bit more upside and downside to do that. It will be nice to see this long consolidation, and even if it's only into a high retest. Wondering about that high retest on SI as well, of course. Palladium could be bottoming out here. Nice looking falling wedge has broken up. We could just expand that by heading down into this support here in the 1065 area. On platinum, this really looks like a bear flag. And it's a very, very nice bear flag. At the moment, my working assumption is it is bear flag, setting up a retest of this low. On HG, we've got the flag broke down, and I'm thinking it may well head down to make the target. That target is at a retest of this low here, and I've got that in the 4.323 area. We're pretty close to that here. As and when we reach that, that could, of course, be the second low of a double bottom. All right, let's have a look at commodities. KC, seeing a bit of a pullback here. Nothing really indicating this is a significant high. I'll be looking for this to be retested in the not too distant future. SB, this could still be an inverse head and shoulders, but really we're days away from my ruling that out as well. We're still just basically moving sideways. Waiting for some direction here. CC, I am wondering about the downside here, and we're testing the monthly pivot, of course. It's holding support, and as long as it holds support, then I'm leaning towards this being a bull flag setup. CT, we are this double bottom setup here, much as I like it on the bigger picture, may be failing. We do have a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing, possible tiny little level bottom here, but it's not even really large enough to even mark in. Lumber has gone lower. This still looks like bottoming action, but we could, that would not so much be the case if we had headed down to this trendline support in the 598 area and hit it, in which case the wedge would just have expanded, but the wedge would still be there. ZW still looks like bottoming action. Weak 6-minute sell signals reached a possible near miss target. On corn, the sell signal made target. Little head and shoulders broke down with a target in about the 403.5 area. On soy, bigger picture, I'm wondering about retracement. This looks like a little bearish triangle forming here. On ZL, we had a nice like a double bottom. It broke up, it made target, and we've been pulling back, and we're back below the monthly pivot. Could be heading into a low retest. That would be too large to be the second low of a double bottom. On live cattle, still continuing higher. We've now got a possible weak 60-minute sell signal brewing, and live cattle, lean hogs, has gone higher. Could this be a larger bear flag forming? We're struggling on size at this stage. If it's going to fail back into the lows, it's got to do so pretty soon. Otherwise, this may well be heading back towards a retest of this high. All right, great. Let's have a look at questions. Can I look at GDX or GDXJ? Of course I can. Wasn't seeing. I did cover these on the bigger picture earlier, but I'll just go through them again here. Hang on. At the moment, basically, they're just pushing higher. We've got no real negative divergence here, or at least all the divergence is fairly weak. We are over this resistance trend line I had marked in. Here, we're obviously well over this 2011 high at 58.93. Nothing really solid in terms of negative divergence, although we're now getting up to a stage on the daily where we could start developing some. I've got no divergence on the hourly either. I've got nothing saying these press higher, and I am wondering if silver and gold might go and retest their highs here. That could push this significantly higher. But at the moment, I've not got any convincing resistance trend lines suggesting that we might see a move down soon. And I haven't got any divergence either. So in terms of GDXJ, I do have a trend line up here in the the 81 area, which I would be watching. And it's quite a nice trend line. We'll see as and when it gets there, but obviously it's significantly short at the moment. All right, great. In that case, that's a wrap, guys. I will catch you guys tomorrow, and everyone take care.